And we are live. Hello, everybody. This is Plan and Traffic, and I'd like to thank everybody in the chat room for showing up tonight. And my name is Lewis from All Ends Magazine, and we are live on Facebook and YouTube. So check it out. Hit the share link, subscribe link, and hit the little bell so you can get notified when we're on here kicking it. Tori, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tori DeBlasi from Long Island, New York. And tonight we have a very special guest, Brook Piper from Callies Performance Products Incorporated in Fostoria, Ohio. Brook, please tell us a little about yourself and the company you work for.
My name is Brook. I've been recently promoted to sales manager at Callies. I've been at the company now for 25 plus years. Born and raised here in this little town called Fostoria. Proud to be on the show. It's great to represent a good company like we are. So,
yeah, we love having you.
Appreciate it.
We get a lot of knowledge from companies coming on like yours, things that you just don't think about. You know, we get schooled, so we love having you.
Don't count on being schooled tonight. Let's put it that way. So,
Nah, I'm sure you know your stuff. So
Yeah,
we're waiting on Lou. Lou's always
tonight.
late. Go ahead, Tori.
Well, it's fashionably late. That's just, that's the way it is sometimes. So, but yeah, just really quick before Lou gets on, I had the pleasure of actually visiting Callies on my way to Indiana on my last road trip, and I got the full tour of the place. I got to meet, Brook. I met Jeremy in person. I was lucky enough that the Heath Norton, the VP of Callies, he was in town. I got a chance to meet him, and I can't tell you, what an impressive, setup that Callies has. There are so many different departments that people don't think about. Not only do you have the automotive section, where they actually have, the raw castings where they're machined and finished. They also have other departments that I'll let Brook explain, how Callies is broken up into different, other different companies. The automotive part being only a small part of the broad spectrum, so to speak.
well, Tori, as you went through there, you walk into the place and you walk into a machining center, basically. As you walk in, there's no fancy waiting room or anything like that. It's just machining 101. We make camshafts for probably every camshaft supplier in the country that you can name. We ship anywhere from, depending on the month, we average about 700 cams a month going out of their cam cores. And then as you go further back in the plant, there's the crank line and the connecting rod line where we're making our ultra rods start to finish. We also machine all our Comstar stuff for the connecting rods in this same area. Then you get into the crankshaft. We have several different billet cells and forging cells. And in the back of the building, we have our aviation manufacturing, which makes crankshafts and camshafts for Lycoming and Ram aircraft. So it's pretty diverse just in that building alone. And then the owner and Keith, who has been on this show, they've branched out and they do oil and gas industry stuff. And we're now making billet aluminum blocks for the LS. We do it for the big block Chevy and the big small block Ford. So in another building in Fremont that Tori didn't get to go through.
Not yet.
You will, and you will probably fall over. Some of the equipment in that place is just mind-boggling. How there's a machine over there that you literally could probably drive a Ford Focus in, and it's a 5-axis CNC machine center.
Oh, sweet!
It's pretty cool.
Ooh.
So
I'll be dangerous. Yeah, right. Hey, who's that stranger in the witness protection with the black background?
Well, I was getting ready to log on, and then all of a sudden my computer started going. I'm like, ooh, that's not good. So I had to go get the laptop. I mean the tablet. I had to go get the tablet because it started growling.
That's no good.
No, it's not good at all. I think he was getting ready to throw a rod.
We
Oh, you
got a
mean
guy.
like this? This here is a Callies Ultra I-beam enforcer rod that's going to find a home in my 427 LSX.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
There
So,
you go.
Brooke, let me ask you a quick question. Could you go through the line of rods, H-beams, I-beams? You have the Comstar, you have the, the Ultra enforcers. Can you go through the line and explain the differences and what applications are best suited for each rod?
Sure. Years ago, we relentlessly got into the import business where we were bringing stuff in from China. Of all the manufacturers, I think we were probably one of the last ones to get into that. We just, demand. It was just demand. So we finally got into the Comstar area and introduced the Comstar line, which we do an H-beam in that. We do it in big block, in small block Chevy. We do some. Now we're doing some sports series, some Honda, some Mitsubishi, where we bring the rods in and we actually finish them in-house, which is a lot different from everybody else. We actually put them to size in-house, bolt them in-house. So when you get them, you don't have to have them resized. The engine builders will speak for it, that you get them out of the bag and you can put them to work instead of refitting them and retorquing them and all that. So that's our entry line of connecting rod. Then we, time flies. I want to say it was probably 8 or 9 years ago. We were selling a ton of rods from everybody else, making, we were selling, you name it, the manufacturers, we were selling them. Our owner came to us and said, I want to start my own connecting rod line. And we started making the Ultra series. We get our forgings from Trenton Forging out of Michigan. They're all made on a forging. 90% to 95% of all rods in the United States that they claim are billet are not billet. They're billet at one time, they're forged, then they're stamped into a forging. We get them from the same place.
That's your American. That's USA made line of rods, correct? The Ultra.
That's correct. That's 100% US made. We go to ARP for the fasteners. They come with a standard H11 bolt, which is basically just a little step above an L19, and that's our standard bolt. We could probably put a lesser bolt in it, but for the quality we did, our customers demand, we decided to go with the best we could get. So the Ultra series, we offer that in a limited amount of H-beams, and then we do also an I-beam. And in the last year and a half, we've introduced this Enforcer series. The Enforcer series is basically a heavy-duty rod for the power adder guys, whether it be nitrous or boost or whatever you are going to put on it. That's where we went with the Enforcer, came up with a separate name for it and everything. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So, excuse me, I got to get a drink. But the Enforcer, we're expanding that every day it seems like we're adding sports series stuff where, the Mitsubishi, the Nissan, we've got a Toyota, I'm trying to think of all the lines we've got in that. As I sit here, I'm not doing a very good job as a sales guy, but Mitsubishi, Toyota, I may think Nissan, and we're also looking at doing some other stuff in the Enforcers. So all American made. So
Brooks, do you guys don't do flathead cranks, do you?
We do not do any flathead cranks. No.
Damn it, man.
Those dinosaurs went to bed a long time ago, unfortunately.
Yeah, one of my students is doing a flathead.
Okay.
That's why I asked.
There's some guys out there that do some one-off stuff. We could probably hook you up with a guy that could, connecting rod-wise, we probably could. Most guys use a small block Chevy or a big block Chevy rod with those anymore, just for ease of parts. So as far as that goes, so
Yeah, I don't know anything about him, quite honestly. I just, I know very little,
Okay.
and I just know that he's got an 8BA, and he's looking to get it rebuilt, and he needs rods and a crank.
Okay.
Pistons I know aren't a problem, but
No.
oh,
Aluminum's
Vince
easy.
just said call him, put me in touch with a flat he got.
So, yeah, send me an email. I
Yeah,
can probably
that's
find
cool.
somebody to help him for it. So,
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, because I part-time teach, and one of my guys is doing a 54 truck. He wants to put a flathead with a 5-speed in it.
well, that's pretty
So,
cool. Still old stuff. So.
Yeah, yeah. So it works out.
Now, Brooke,
So
go ahead.
you guys just started really recently doing the engine blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't been that long.
It has not really been that long at all. Heath would probably smack me upside the head right now, but I can't remember how many years ago it was. We were I remember the conversation. We were sitting at PRI, and we were already making, for lack of better words, engine blocks for the oil and gas industry. They call it fracking. And these things are monsters, humongous blocks of steel that we were machining in-house. And Heath and Rick were sitting there, and they asked me, goes, what else in here could we possibly make over in Fremont? And somebody you might be talking to had the dumb idea of making engine blocks. So I said, you're making blocks. Why don't we do aluminum? Making aluminum. At that time, the wait for an LS billet block was probably right around 4 months. So
Yeah.
the low-hanging fruit was the LS. We started in on that. He started in on that over in Fremont. Boy, we stumbled along, but we've got her down now where we've got some pretty high-end guys using it, testing it. We've gone off into the big block Chevy market now, where we've got a 10.2 and a 10.6 block, raised cam, just like everybody would want there.
Yeah.
And now we've got some small block Ford blocks that we're making a 10.2 small block Ford Cleveland block that has a bell housing on the back where you can bolt up a Chevy bell housing on the back, so the guys aren't, instead of making adapter plates and all this stuff for small block Ford is huge down in the Carolinas for this no prep, grudge match racing, because they make good power. So those have really taken off also. So it's pretty
What's
cool.
What's the cubic inch you can pull out of a small block Ford? What's the biggest?
Oh man, with the 10.2 deck,
415?
Bigger than that. You can put with that block and everything. You can put a 155 bore in that, and the block will easily clearance 4,600 strokes. So
really,
I'd have to do the math on it, but it's huge.
That's a big block, man.
It's basically down there. The grudge racing is you can run a small block Ford. The architecture of a small block Ford, but yeah, it's basically a big block Ford in a small block casing. So
yeah.
Grudge racing is crazy. Some of the rules are just, there's guys out there making 4,600 bore small blocks. So as far as that goes now, or I'm sorry, 4,600 bore spacing, I should say, which is, once again, this grudge race is really prep is really taking off. So the billet block world. So
technology is just getting crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some of that stuff is.
And are you guys thinking about going into heads? I mean, I know the head market is pretty heavy right now.
Energy Manufacturing, which is our sister company, they offer billet cylinder heads for the LS, the big block Chevy, and then we're also have a small block Ford billet head. We've teamed up with Visner Engineering. He's out of Michigan to help us with that part of it. We're stocking heads, so as far as that goes, guys aren't waiting for the product.
Right.
Visner also does billet manifolds for us, intake manifolds. So if you Google Energy Manufacturing, go on, you'll you get to see some of the eye candy there. The guys, I mean, it is impressive stuff. So
Right. Man.
anything billet is pretty. So
Right.
Oh yeah.
so
Yeah. That's crazy.
it's very cool.
So you can pretty much come to your stop and get everything for the motor.
Yeah, we finished grinding camshafts now, just a handful of them. So pretty much your lower end, and now we're trying to diversify into the upper end as far as into the cylinder head stuff, and it's really high end stuff. We're not going to be the guys that supply the castings that you machine and things like that, but the high end racers, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We're in there. So
that's cool.
Well, hi, Brooke. I'm Ray. I'm not billet and I'm not pretty. So I don't have any of those parameters.
As long as you said it first.
But, yeah. I did see a guy that looked just like Lou today in a store, and I said, holy, I did a double take. I was like, damn. It was a Verizon guy at the coffee shop I went to this morning. I'm like, holy crap, man. Yeah, pretty fun. Cool stuff.
We lost Tori. I don't know. He dropped off or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably was having problems with his connection because I tell you what, mine kicked me off. I wasn't expecting the screen, the whole screen and everything just went black.
I was having trouble with my tablet. I was having trouble with my tablet upstairs, which is odd. I mean, it's usually rock solid, and now I'm down on a hardwired connection, so it may be the wireless thing. But Brooke, you guys got a hell of a line. I mean, I've been following you guys for a while, and you got. I love the way the company's constantly evolving and coming up with new products and evolving. It's who's in charge of that end of the deal.
As far as the new products, of course, Heath is involved, our vice president. Mm-hmm. I get involved in we've got a handful of engineers. We've got a guy in the name of, I'll throw a shout out to him, Nick Norris, who's very, very talented. Nick used to be an engine builder back in the day, and we hired him on, and now he designs products. So
nice. As
far as that goes, he's been through the wars of putting stuff together and things like that. So when you get a guy like that that knows the agony of putting a custom engine together, he's very, very, very good. So he's been with us a while now. So I guess to really answer your question, it's a team effort.
Right.
You got to bounce ideas off each other and see what sticks to the wall. Unfortunately, unfortunately, a lot of it is customer driven. We listen to our customers, and
sure.
We are probably one of the last guys to the fight on some things because we're so cautious on, is there really a market? Is there a market? Is there not a market? Things of that nature. So,
well, yeah. Before you invest in tooling and in production, you want to be sure. Just like I was hearing before, you're not going to have flathead stuff, but you sure as hell going to have LS stuff. Obviously,
And that even mentioned the LS world back when the LS market came out. We were big in the LT1 market back in the day where they were doing the one-piece seal LT1s.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those customers graduated into the LS world, and they were begging us. I mean, absolutely begging us to get into the LS market. And boy, we were probably 2-3 years removed from before we even got into that. So
yeah.
So we've kind of taken that market, and we've taken them from young guys and we'll say mature guys now. And, and they are, our core customers. You name it in the LS world, we probably deal with them. So the high end LS.
Yeah. So that makes Terry happy, and Tori.
So Josh Ellsworth wants to know if you guys are going to debut anything at SEMA, but you guys don't go to SEMA, do you?
We don't ever exhibit at SEMA.
You're PRI.
We are big into PRI because that's where the hardcore guys are for engine components and our stuff. There's a lot of glitz and chrome and stuff out at SEMA, which is cool, and it is growing out there for the hardcore engine component guys, but it's just not there. Plus the cost to get out there. I mean,
it's big money.
Yeah.
It's big.
It's big money. So you got to sell a lot of stuff to pay for that trip. So, and
you're right.
So,
but you're going to debut anything at PRI this year?
This year at PRI, we're still thinking about a few products. Right now we're working on a custom hybrid RB30 motor that Bullet down in Australia is making billet blocks for these things. In that market, in the sport compact market, you have the Toyotas, which are, the Chevrolet of the United States, and then you have the Nissan guys, and they're like the Ford guys. They don't get along. So
Yeah.
the architecture of the Nissan deal, they've kind of taken some of the Toyota architecture and hybrided it into this. So we're working on that with a one-off billet project there, which is going to be pretty cool. It should make some really serious power.
That's awesome.
Of course, we'll debut some blocks there, like our Ford block. Not a lot of people have seen it yet. It was just kind of in the drawing stages. So we'll take a Ford block over there, billet block for energy, which is, for the first year, we'll have energy and Callies pretty much in the same booth. So we'll be able to mingle in between the two booths. And,
right.
We've been dealing with engine builders for years at Callies, and energy's the new kid on the block. And, they're a little brother to us, for lack of better words, but we're bringing them along and introducing them and bringing them, customers to them, and they bring customers to us. So it's been a win-win. So
cool.
We'll bring rods. We've got rods and stuff like that we'll be introducing, but big splash items, nothing really, it's just trying to keep up right now and, make little tweaks to our product line and things of that nature. So the most exciting thing we're excited about right now is our top fuel market. We've been working exclusively up until now with Coletta Motorsports. And we're the little guy on the block when it comes to the billet high-end top fuel guys. And
right.
We've introduced a forged top fuel crank that we've at minimum doubled their life in the top fuel world. So they are. So that's we're gonna ruffle some feathers with that.
Six runs.
They average anywhere from 6 to 8 runs. Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
We've got a crank.
Yeah, but for that's a long life, Ray.
Yeah, I know. It's a hard life.
It's a very hard life, and
it's like right on the LIE.
We've had a couple cranks right now with them that have made 16 passes, full hit. And
no way.
So we've got something cooking there. And don't get me wrong, the Coletta guys are just awesome to deal with. Good partnership. When we first came out of the gate, we couldn't barely even crawl, and they've kept with us and worked with us and back and forth, and it's pretty awesome. So
that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Collaborations, everything.
So,
that's very cool.
So
man, but to double the life on a top fuel motor is insane. On the crank, I should say, that's insane.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then they have one with 16 passes on it, man.
And that crank, we actually cut it up, and it wasn't broken yet. It was to the point where they probably would have put it back in and run it some more, but we're creeping up on it. It's one of those things where you got to creep up on it. And,
yeah.
We're good with 16. Go ahead and cut that up. Now let's go 20 passes. See if we can, before we hurt something and kill a car. So it's pretty cool.
So let me ask you this: do you test that to metallurgy or to build practice or to a combination of both? Technology. I mean, what's the big hit there?
The big hit that nobody wants to talk about is in a market like that. If you have a forged crank that is made from the same material as a billet, forged crank wins 100% of the time. It's all the grain structure of the crank. So our owner's been preaching that since the beginning of Callies back in the 89, 90, and racers will have that same reaction all three of you just had. Like, what are you talking about? And if it's the same material and it's either a billet or a forging will win because of the grain structure, period. It's twisted. Billets, have won over the years just because of the exotic materials you can get and machine. You know, you start with a billet stock, you could do anything and machine it. So,
Right.
So our 2 years ago, we started in with Callies, and Connie was sitting with our owner Rick, and Rick said, "You know what you guys need is a forged top fuel crank." And Connie looked at Rick and said, "You're damn right we do." And we looked everywhere because this EN30 stuff that they use in top fuel, it is not easy to machine. It is, I mean, just excuse my language, but a pain in the ass. I mean, it is nothing but agony to machine this stuff. So we found a forging supplier that could do it for us. And we started in on it, and so far it's just been unbelievable. And we've got some other tricks that, you know, Rick has been making crankshafts for, wow, he'll probably kill me when I say this, but I bet he's been making crankshafts for 50 plus years. So
Yeah.
he knows all the tricks, and he's got some ideas on how to make even better product for these top fuel guys once we get a baseline of where we're at. So,
Right.
So he keeps us on our toes.
Now, how much horse is going through those top fuel?
Oh man, I think it's over 1,000 a cylinder. Yeah. It loses 1,200 horse just to turn the supercharger.
Yeah, 8 to 10. Yeah.
Yeah, they say that at about 10,000. They said that this last weekend. You know, when I was watching the race. Yeah, that's what the announcers said.
So, Brooke, just to back up again, because I've had my hand in metallurgy in the past, but I've never worked with billet. What does it look like under a microscope? What's the grain structure look like? I would imagine it's straight.
It's very granular, straight. Yep, it's like oak, you know, straight, very straight material. Yeah. Whereas with the forging, it gets twisted. So, that's what, you know, you'd be totally scared if I showed you some pictures of the stuff the top fuel guys run with cracks in it at that kind of horsepower. I mean, there's big. I mean, they were
one more time.
They were bringing in cranks to us that had the, you know, cracks in them the size of probably the end of your pinky, and saying, we can get a couple more passes on that. It'll be all right.
Where would those cracks?
Really?
Where are the cracks in the journal?
Oh, they crack them all over in the radius of the rods and the mains.
Wow.
They're very, very hard on the back of the crank because of all the weight hanging off of there on the back end of due to the clutch that they're running on the back of those cars. But yeah, it's pretty impressive. And to tell you, I'm going to sit here and tell you, I've been years ago. I was talking to Heath last night. I said, you know, I haven't said it out loud to anybody in the company, but this has kind of been a little dream of mine to get into the top fuel world. Years ago, John Medlin used to work for Callies. Back when I started at Callies in the early 90s, John worked for us when he was on a little hiatus with the top fuel world. I got to know his son, Eric, really well, rest his soul. He lived in Fostoria here, and we hung out, and I fell in love with top fuel racing. But we just could never get there. So to go to the track now and watch these guys go 330 mile an hour and know your parts are in it. Yeah. It's a little breathtaking, let me tell you. It's a little, you know, you're holding your breath, and but it's pretty cool. So
yeah. Daphne wants to know when you guys going to get some ladies clothing, the V-necks for women.
We have some on, you know, if you go to the website, Bree is our advertising has just introduced. We've got a brand new Callie shirt she introduced today that's like an American flag. There's some women's pink and gray shirts on there, V-necks that are actually women's cut, not, you know, the men's fit all that, you know, every racer's got a wife or a girlfriend, right? So they got to have it's good to have a women's line. So
now that we're talking about shirts, we happen to have some in the Plan and Traffic website just for women.
There you go.
V-neck.
There you go.
So check out. I'll put the link in the in the description. Feel free to order.
And God knows, I don't know if everybody else is like my wife, but her store is my T-shirt depository. So she just picks at will. I'm like, I said to her nice, hey, when did you play darts at the ringside? And she's like, well, I'm like, you're wearing my shirt. Oh, is that yours? Like, yeah. When were you playing on a dart league?
Hey, listen to this. My daughter, every time she comes home, she has a different shirt on. I'm like, whose shirt is that? I don't know. She's like a shirt thief. She has like thousands of shirts of other people. I'm like, where do you get that from?
I might want to look into that one a little bit.
There you go.
Jeez.
Wow.
I see somebody asked, is there a difference between Top Fuel and funny car engines?
I don't think there is.
They're basically the same engine. It all depends on the tune-up. The funny car is a little more radical. They get a little more downforce due to the back end of them. They got to pedal them. But essentially, it's the same crank, same motor.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I last year when I was in Atlanta, I went to the race in Atlanta, and I was talking to a Ron Caps's clutch guy, and he showed me their clutch. Man, it's gorgeous. It's all billet. I mean, it's beautiful. It's so I never seen a pressure plate like it, like what they run, man, and that whole clutch setup. It's crazy. Yeah. So and it's a hard life on that thing.
Oh man.
So. Yeah,
for sure.
It's crazy. And he said what they do, and I didn't fully grasp it till he showed me. They, when they apply pressure to the flywheel, and they make it so it's harder for it to turn, so that they're trying to slow it down, but it's really bizarre. The way I understand it is they're applying force to the clutch and making it tighter, so it's harder to turn it, and they're still making all that power because that's how they keep it from spinning the wheels.
Yep.
It was just, it's backwards to what you would think they would do, at least what I thought it would do. You know what I mean? Because
clutch became the regulating device.
Yeah, exactly.
It was your foot. It was the application of the clutch. Now it's actually the lock, which is all. Yeah, there's a whole science behind that. Like you said, it's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, because when he showed it to me, he started to explain. I said, "Look, let me make it easy on me. Let me explain to you how I think it works, and then you tell me where I'm wrong." Because to me, it just made more sense to do it that way because I had my idea of how it would work, and I explained it, and he goes, "You're totally backwards." He goes, "Your end would be the beginning for us." I was like, "Wow," because, because like you said, they're using it to try and slow down the engine, and what they're doing is they're just driving through it because they make so much power. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's something. But the work on those, everything's billet. They're gorgeous. They're artwork.
Yep.
Yeah,
they are.
So I could imagine what it's doing in a crankshaft. You know what I mean? When you stop and think about it. So
basically,
that's pretty crazy.
You got the supercharger on the front trying to rip the post off, and you got a clutch on the back trying to stop it from. So you got it's something somewhere in the middle trying to keep it all together. So it's.
See, I could now, just putting it that way, I can understand why Ford is stronger than billet, because with the grain structure that's twisted instead of straight, obviously that crank is going to be more amenable to the two twisting actions.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
And then you throw in you lose a cylinder or whatever, and you start popping and carrying on. It's
hydrolock.
It is crazy the amount of stuff those things go through. So
very violent. Yeah.
I'd like to have one of the junk ones. Get it gun drilled, make it a lamp.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That would be cool.
Because God knows I can never afford to buy one and put it in an engine, so I make it a lamp.
We probably could help you out with that. We get enough scrap
awesome.
back that they are. If you go to our Facebook page and look, last Friday, Nick, our design engineer, and I delivered one to Coletta's at the track on Friday morning. And
that's cool.
I took a picture of it. They were actually assembling the motor in the middle of nowhere, right in the track, assembling this motor, and you're going, what in the world? But that crank ended up running Saturday, so. There's a pretty cool picture of their jewelry. So
they are. Yeah. But you know what, Brooke, man, all you guys' stuff is jewelry. I've seen a lot of you guys' stuff over the years, and I've never seen an ugly crankshaft that you guys have put out. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a constant focus on for us is to, the fit and finish. You only get one chance to make a first impression, right? So
Yeah.
Taking it out of the box, you get it out of the box and you go, man, this is all right. This is what I spend the extra money for. So that's been a constant focus throughout our shop to make them nicer, make them balance better, and make the user experience better at the end of the day. So
that's awesome. That really
if we can get other companies to start thinking that way, it's we get a lot of junk.
I know Heath the last time. I know Heath the last time he was on, he brought up our turn manufacturers. There's a lot of them out there that bring them in and just slap them in a box. So.
Oh yeah.
And we're human.
I mean, that's with a cross automotive board too. It's not just with high performance products. That's with all the everyday stuff too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I just changed. It sounds stupid, but mundane. But a thermostat in my wife's car, her Cruise. It's electronically controlled thermostat. So I ended up buying the Dorman and put it in. Everything was cool for 2 weeks. Now the temperature gauge is acting like a tack again. Check engine light, limp mode, the whole 9 yards. Pull it out, bought a Delco part, put that in. Car is fine. Like, son of a, you can't even trust the aftermarket anymore.
Yeah.
And unbelievable.
We got a question in the question and answer section from Chris. What's Callies' next big thing?
I would say our next big thing, other than this Top Fuel, is last week. I'm gonna ride on Energy's coattails here. Our next big thing is we got approved by NHRA to make Top Fuel billet blocks. So that's pretty cool.
That is.
That's very cool.
That's a major hurdle that we got over. It's one hurdle with NHRA. You get one hurdle. And I compare it to getting a loan at a bank for a house. I mean, it seems like you jump one hurdle, they raise the bar and say, well, you can jump that high. Let's jump a little higher. So we got a couple more hurdles to jump there to get it going, but that's very cool. I don't know, the next one, I think it's just improving some of the another one of our focus is going to be the Pro Nitrous stuff that we do for Musey and Charlie Buck and Sonny's. We are getting a lot more life than everybody else out there, but we're a little bit heavier. So we got to tune that in a little bit. I mean, it's just constant improvement, listening to the customer, tweaking things. I mean, you think you got it figured out and you don't, everybody finds a weak link or they want a little bit power added advantage or something like that. So it's just working on it. We just introduced, the ULS guys, we introduced a Compstar center counterweighted crank, that the consumer can buy for under $1,200. I mean, that's a big hit for these guys. We finish in house. I mean, that's a big thing that we've been working hard on for, probably 2 years to get it perfected and get it right. But it's just, like I said, constant improvement that you can't sit or otherwise guys will pass you by. So you just got to keep your eye on the ball. So,
after you guys machine a billet block, what do you do with all the billet that comes out? How do you recycle that?
It goes in a hopper and we get paid for it. That's the unfortunate part of it.
Someone buys it back. Okay.
Yeah, it gets. I don't know exactly what a billet block, the piece of aluminum weighs. If Heath were on here, he could tell you probably exactly what a block weighs when it starts, but I'd probably be venturing to say 75-80% of it goes in the chip hopper, at the end of the day. So
now, what do they do with that? I've never seen that end of the process. What they actually do with the, with the chips? I guess they can reconstitute it somehow, but
Yep. We actually get paid, on our high end stuff. We actually separate our chips in house for the EN30 versus, just the 4340, because just like when you buy it, you get a better price at scrap. So
so they have to they heat it and melt it and then just
reform it after that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Lee Morgan wants to know, what's the most overlooked problem that your company addresses?
wow, that's a good question.
It is actually.
Yeah, it is.
That's
Yeah, I
great.
wish I
That's
thought of
really
that one.
most overlooked problem. I'm going to say fit and finish. You know, guys get cranks. How many times, you buy a crank from one of our competitors, I won't name any names, but you get it out and the sizes are everywhere, things of that nature that engine builders will tell you that, you get a crank out of the box and boy, the main sizes are everywhere. The rod sizes are everywhere. Fit and finish is one thing that I think we address very, very well. And we come from the OEM side, we're an offshoot of an OEM company originally. So we know how to, do everything like the OEMs expect to build thousands of these a day. So the quality control and things of that nature are way above what most people ever do or would ever think to do. So I would say that's probably one of our most overlooked, that guys don't even think about. So
Yeah.
how many times,
That makes sense.
you could ask your viewers, how many times have they bought a crank and they've taken it to the machine shop and they say, well, I've had to resize this whole thing, so it's going to cost you X amount more.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
Time is money and money is time. So guys, an engine builder that uses our stuff, they're going to pay more for us, but at the end of the day, it's a wash because they don't have to monkey around with it when they get it out of the box.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
But a very good question there. So
That's very cool.
we pride ourselves on customer service too, which is when you call Callies, you're going to get a live person on the phone. You're not going to get a voicemail. You're not going to get a thank you for calling, push button 11 whatever to get somebody. You're going to get a live person every time you call. So
yeah, push one for
another
English.
thing. Yeah, that's not us. We 100% of the time you're going to get somebody.
Yeah. I'm planning on, I think I'm supposed to go up there for a show. I haven't heard yet, but if that happens, I'm going to come up and see you guys. I'd just love to see the stuff, the equipment and everything. That's what's cool to me more than anything else is the equipment.
And we have
making it is neat, but it's the process that really does it for me.
And we have an open door policy. Anybody can come in and we'll take you through the shop. So as Tori saw a couple weeks ago, but he was up. So
Lou, you got to get.
He still talks about it. He loved it.
You got into that.
He loved it,
you
man.
got into the crank grinding room that we were talking about last time. Where the cranks are actually turned and ground and polished. You got to get in there. That's
Yeah, he loved it.
Yeah.
Tori was the kid in the candy store. That's what he was. He loved the hell out of it.
He still talks about it. So what the hell?
Oh yeah, he loved it. I'm telling you, he loved it.
Tori's living the life, man. I want to be him when I grow up.
There you go.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be using something when I start doing my my online show. I want to build something crazy. I haven't decided what yet, but I want to build something crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. So you guys do big stuff. I mean, you do that the fracking stuff and all that.
Yep.
Do you guys make stuff for for like Caterpillars and 60 series GMs and Cummins? I mean, do you do them too?
We used to in that plant for the OEM side. We're working right now on the DT. What is it for the tractor pulling guys? It's an international motor.
DT 466.
Yep, those big monsters are. We're gonna start doing some of those.
There he is.
Energy manufacturing has branched off, and we're doing a crank now for. It's called Tech Motive, which is a government. That crankshaft, I'm going to tell you, I don't know the exact dimensions, but standing beside it, it's almost as tall as me. So it's at least 5 foot long. So
wow,
it's a monster. We have some pretty cool equipment there. We can do some longer stuff. It's not really in our roundhouse, so we haven't really got after it as far as And there's not really a market for that in the aftermarket world, except for tractor pulling and
Right.
the one-off government jobs that we take on every once in a while. So
That's cool. I'm gonna have to look into that DT466. I might be getting one of those engines for my tow pig. Spin it a little bit, you know.
it's a
I'm sure it's
so
a
it's pretty
gorgeous
cool.
crank.
Yep.
I'm sure it's a gorgeous crankshaft. That's for sure. Jeez. Yeah, Vince said the DT466 is only 9 or 10 liters. Yeah, it is. I think it is too. Yeah, I think it's close to the 9. Honestly. Yep.
Tori, you have no volume. If you hear
Yeah,
me,
I had to press the button.
Okay.
But Ray, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
We got to do this more often.
I know. We had a big family dinner last week. Both of the kids had birthdays this month, so we always go out on one night. And
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
happy birthday. I missed you.
Yeah, it's a busy time of the year. You know, this is always a busy time of the year. Yeah, it's always.
Hey, I had three of my 4 get married in a month.
Oh wow! That's unprecedented.
Congratulations.
Just keep the tux. You don't even bring it back. Just like leave it.
You can talk about taking the kids and go out to dinner, but I had to do 3. Got rid of 3 of them in a month.
Rent it twice, you get the third one for free.
Well, at least the utility bills will be lighter now at home, huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
You know.
Well, today, this morning, because Tina, she quit her job. She's going to go become a yoga instructor. So this morning we're sitting there eating breakfast, and I go, man, we're the only 2 in the house.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, so it worked out pretty good. Can't complain. So, Tori, I know you got questions for Brooke. Go ahead, ask your question. Go ahead, ask him. I know you have questions.
There was this one crate with a huge crankshaft in it somewhere in the middle of the building. And I couldn't get an answer that day of what it was. It was in a big, heavy crate. It was about 15 feet long. And it was impressive. Do you have any idea what that was for?
That's the government project I was talking about. That is, you've seen it, Tori. It is monstrous.
I couldn't believe it.
It is. I still look at it and I go, "Holy crap! What's the government really going to do with this?" But
yeah, right.
Yeah, you saw it. You saw how big it is. That's the crank I was speaking of. They're online. I've spoken to them a couple times. It's called Tech Motive. They do a lot of government stuff. I believe I don't even know what it's for, but we've been contracted to make some cranks for them. Basically, Callies brought them to the plate. They Google crankshaft manufacturers and they pull up Callies, and here we are. So we do some little stuff like that here and there throughout the shop. So
that wasn't little. So basically what they said was, make this, here are the specs, don't ask any questions. You don't need to know what it's for.
We have to do a non-compete. Of course, we get the prints, and basically here's the print. They had some samples they sent to us that somebody else made them years ago or whatever, and here we are. So with the horsepower of that place, you've been there, Tori, there's a lot of equipment there. So
yeah.
I couldn't believe the diverse amount of stuff. I mean, what I found, I'm sorry I dropped out before, it was Cablevision. I'm hardwired now, so we won't have any more trouble. But what was impressive was seeing like the raw castings before they were finished, and you had the ones that, that came from, China and the Comstar line. You had the American-made ones, and that's what I want to ask you about. You have several, lines of crankshafts, starting with the Comstar. Yep. Then you have your American-made ones. You have the Dragon Slayer, the Magnum, and the Magnum XL. So I know they're all finished to exacting standards in-house. But can you explain the differences between, the Comstar going right up to the Magnum XL?
Yeah, Comstar, they have to crawl through the same windows we do everything else. We hold them to the same standard. When Heath was on the show, like I said, about a year ago, he brought up the fact that we're a manufacturer, not a manufacturer. We get them in, we inspect them, we cut them up, and we finish size them there. So, you know, on the Comstar stuff, I think they're allowed, you know, shoot from memory about a 7/10 window on sizes. The Callies stuff is right around 5/10, so it's a little narrower because we make it in house. But still, that's a very, very small window to crawl through.
Yeah, it's tight.
So, and you were there, Tori. You saw, you know, we make billet stuff. So there's billets floating through the shop. There's, you know, our American-made stuff, which is, you know, the Dragon Slayer, the Magnum XL, and then our Ultra lineup. So it's quite diverse going through there. We separate church and state with it. We try to keep the Comstar area off to one side, and then the Callies, you know, umbrella on the, you know, on the other side. But they do intermix. You know, the employees go back and forth for the, you know, so. And the brain, you know, the engineering group and all that, they work back and forth. So it's the same guy designing an Ultra. He could be grinding, you know, designing the Comstar lineup the next day. So
yeah,
what we learn from, you know, our experience in the Top Fuel world, and, you know, the Pro Mod, and, you know, everything as far as that goes, sprint cars and all that, we apply across the board. So if we find a weak link, well, we stop and we fix it. So
yeah,
it's
well, and when you think about it, you know, like a Top Fuel crank is going to show you different points of fatigue versus a stock crank. But you stop and think about it. If that one has it, you know, the other one could potentially have it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because it's just the crank itself is the same. It's the same animal. It's not a different animal. So it's just that the Top Fuel one has such a load on it. So it's just gonna make everything happen faster.
Exactly. It's accelerated versus, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they're going to see failure. So, yep.
Right.
What we're learning on the high end, you know, my predecessor, Dwayne, that was the sales manager before me, I learned a lot from him. I worked for him for 25 years. I learned a lot, but he kept saying the podium guys will teach you. And we called them the podium guys, the guys on Sunday that race on Sundays. They'll teach you what the guys on Friday night need to know. So, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What impressed me most going through the factory was that when I visited all the stations, you know, for example, the guys, you know, balancing the rotating assemblies.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm sure I spoke to the people who did my rotating assembly, you know, back in December. And it was just really nice to see the people that worked on. So instead of just, you know, calling up on the phone, having you mail something to me, I got the more human, the more personal side of it, which was, you know, a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do that. But what was really cool talking to the people that work there is that everyone knows every aspect of the company, where everyone's worked in another location. So if someone's needed, you know, from one section to the other, they can seamlessly just pick it up and do the job and get it done the right way. And that, the amount of training that goes on over there, you know, you guys are the standard. A lot of other companies should, you know, follow your lead, so everyone is well schooled and experienced.
You know, it's like a fighting unit in the military, where every man knows the man in front of him and the man behind him's his job.
Exactly.
When he drops, you got it. You know, that's great organization. It really is.
Firehouse too, same thing, Ray. Good point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what we do is, you know, every crank that's touched, we can tell you if, you know, in the rough end, if somebody screwed something up, we can tell you who touched it, because every crank has a serial number and we track it. So there's accountability. We can walk out and say, hey, what the hell were you doing? You know, so, and the guy in front of you and the guy behind you is going to push you. So it's great accountability in that regard. So
that's awesome.
So there's no yanking the crank, I guess, right?
Yep.
Got to keep it straight and narrow. That's
exactly.
Great. Love it.
So I got another one from Lee. He wants to know if you can explain can you explain again some of the physics between straight versus curved and such?
I guess I don't understand what his question there as far as that goes.
I think he's talking about when you do the forging, how the molecules are twisted, but they're still kind of in line. I think that's what he's talking about.
For the straight line is billets are very, very straight. Just they're all parallel. All the grain structure would be parallel. A twisted forging is going to look like a roller coaster. It kind of goes like this throughout the crank, and that's what when a billet crank breaks, it's just like breaking a piece of board. I mean, it's going to break and done. So versus a forged crank, it's kind of like an OSB. It's going to break, but it might shatter off to the left or right, type deal. So it'll stay on the surface. So
if I can find it, I have pictures of grain structure right here that I can show them.
So
and the forged crank is better versus the billet. So
100% of the time. Yep.
But now when I mean, I get it. You twist them, but and I mean, I know the material is red hot. I want to see the machine that twisted thing, because I mean, something big has got to grab that thing to just twist it. You know what I mean? Even a quarter turn, it's got to be.
It's just a load cell, a torsional tester with a load cell.
There's the forging companies. If you ever get to see a crank forged, when they hit the forging, it literally shakes the ground next to you, depending on how big of the press is. So
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's crazy. That's got to be cool.
There's a really big place in Louisville called Aichi Forge that here in the States that I would tell you to if you could ever get in there and look. It's Toyota owned, but they've got some big presses in there that
I can imagine
really big stuff. So
man, because you see it like on the History Channel, how it's made, but it's nothing like in real life, I'm sure.
No. They heat them up and then they just slam them. Is what goes on.
Yeah,
it's And I'm not going to reveal who's doing our top fuel forging as far as that goes, but
no, you don't know. Don't worry about it.
The presses they have are just, they do cranks. The top fuel crank is a baby crank for them, so you can imagine the horsepower that they have to forge. So we're babies.
Yeah.
So.
Because they were probably just as psyched as you guys were when you came to them about making it.
Yeah, they were. A couple years ago, everybody was in a downturn in the steel industry in the United States until, I'm not going to get into it, but Mr. Trump became president, and so they were scratching, and looking for work. And we came to them and we said we have an idea. We had some experience with them with our other products, and they said let's give it a shot, and here we are. So. Now they're looking
and you know what?
Stuff.
And you know what, Brooke? You know what's good about that group in the NHRA? Those are serious repeat customers.
Oh, yeah. It's and that's why we've been kind of quiet about how we're doing it, because you only get one shot. You only get one shot with these guys. You shoot yourself in the foot, you're done. You'll never get another shot. So
yeah. Because that is a repeat customer crowd there, man. That is. Woo!
And it's
they're going to break it. It's just a matter of it's not if, it's when.
It's a traveling 3-ring circus. They all know each other, and they all have switched amongst teams and all that. So it's once you get in with them, you become part of the traveling circus. You're in. So
once you're part of the family, right, Ray? You're part of the family.
Got that right.
So just saying, like a New Yorker. Check this out. Lee Morgan writes, it's interesting. My buddy dropped the crank and the cam. The cam shattered like glass, but the crank was okay. He was able to use it.
Yeah.
So what was the cam made of? That shattered.
Well, they do. If you drop a cam on the ground, it will shatter in pieces. Yeah.
I never dropped a cam, so I
did it a few weeks ago.
Did you really?
Oh, it's an old cam. Yeah, I was actually
okay.
Back to shot. I went to show him, like, this is why you're careful with these things. I just dropped it and it went.
Wow.
So I got a camshaft story, and Brooke would appreciate it just because it's a good story. I was at a bike show a few years ago, and this guy built his frame. He scratch built this frame. It was really nice, but his down tube was a big block Chevy billet roller camshaft. And what he did was he gun drilled it.
Yeah.
He gun drilled it, and then he heated it in the oven, slid the down tube through it before he built the frame, and then let it cool and quench around it. And then he had to weld the ends. And I said to him, I said, so how many did you mess up before you got it right? Because it's billet. He goes, oh man. He goes, I wasted 3 of them. Thank God my friend drag races, and he had some laying around his garage. Because he had to do, you got to let it cool slowly because it'll crack it. Right. So the problem he was having was trying to figure out how fast to let it cool down. Sure. He wasted 2 of them before he could get the 3rd one right.
Gun drilling correctly. Yeah, that whole process is crazy.
Yeah. But it was so cool. I mean, I would have never thought to do, a roller cam for a down tube on a Harley. It was just cool as hell.
Great idea. Really good idea.
I put them between the frame ones on like a Model A or so or an A-bar, and that's common. They just bolt them between the frame ones. That's
right,
cool.
Right.
A frame, that's cool.
It was really cool because I got to talking to him. I saw it, and I was more curious if he gun drilled it or not. If he just stuck it in the middle. He's like, nah, man, I had to figure out how to gun drill it, and he got on it. He said he did it on his lathe, and he had to buy the stuff so he could get it all done. But he got it done, man. It was cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Cool as hell.
Since we're on the topic, though, Brooke, could you explain the process of gun drilling and on the Magnum XL crank? I know that the Magnum XL is a gun drill Lighten crank. If you could explain that process to our viewers, that'd be awesome.
Well, the gun drilling, we started that. Oh man, I'm going to date myself, but it's been probably 15 years ago. We started fooling around with that. And it's nothing really fancy. It's just a long drill and a lathe is all it is with coolant fed up the middle. It's no rocket science. I mean, they just go through the back of the crank and they go towards the main with a humongous lathe in the back of the shop. And we have guards over to keep the coolant. But it's essentially what it does, though, is, other than taking weight out of the crankshaft, that's an obvious factor. It's just a scale weight as far as that goes. That started back when we had the scale wars going on where my crank weighs 48, mine weighs 46, where it doesn't really matter. It's scale weight as far as that goes. Rotating weight is more important than scale weight. So it's basically a long drill is all we do is it goes through bushings and we go from the back all the way towards the front, and it's coolant fed and indexable drill as far as that goes. Back in the day, we just used to use a drill bit. So
what? How? Let me just to be graphic. How the cam is chucked in the chuck deep, I guess.
Yep.
So, and then you drill them from the tailstock.
We drill from the tailstock. It's all,
Do you move the cam out as you to get deeper? So I'm thinking like the back isn't supported now when the front is chucked.
As it comes through there's bushings and everything. It's basically 30-inch long drill bit is what goes through there.
I got the drill the center. I'm saying the front lobe of the cam is chucked in the chuck. Yep, however, if you're using a collar chuck or a 4-jaw, the back of the cam is now just hanging out inside the body of the lathe.
Yep. It's basically on a steady rest and supported that way, and then rolled through there. So,
all right, yeah, all right, yeah, because you got to be.
Well, and you stop and think about it, Ray. When they spin the crank, it's spinning straight. Everything, all of the rod journals are going up and down like they're supposed to, but the mains are going to be spinning straight. They're not going to be going up and down.
No, but both ends are
right. That's where the steady rest comes in. You put the steady rest on a main, and it's going to hold it. They can support it.
It's basically on the middle of the crank, 3 main, and it's then it just rolls. So it's not very.
Yeah.
You would think it's pretty scientific, but if you came to our shop, you would go, "Really? That's it?" It's one of those. That's really how you guys do this? Yeah, that's it.
Works to go with it, man.
Yep. It was impressive. It was impressive. So, what coolant do you use to when you do the gun drilling process?
It's our if you come to our shop, all our coolants for all the machines is basically in troughs in the floor, and it runs through throughout the floor, the concrete of the floor. I don't even know what we use for a cutting fluid. 25 years ago when I was buying it, I probably could have told you, but I don't buy the coolant anymore.
Yeah, you were buying a couple gallons of it.
Yeah, we were buying
water,
50
water-based stuff.
It's water-based. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, that back when I was, like I say, when I started, I literally started wrapping bearings back in the day as summer help.
No kidding.
We would get in bearings from Federal Mogul in bulk, and I'd sit in the back room and take 8 shells out for rod bearings, uppers, 8 shells, and just literally box bearings for days on end. It was, and then
The new guy.
I was that guy, and then I moved in and started buying tooling. You know, like I say, I was working in the tool room and buying all the tooling. So I probably could have told you then, but it's just a water-based coolant that we use. So
Machine shop coolant.
So
Getting like a 5-gallon drum. Yeah.
Yeah, we buy it in 55-gallon drums, and I don't know how many gallons our hydramation system is. It's crazy the amount of coolant that goes through that shop. So
I can imagine.
So
God,
does the coolant get changed every so often? Or you just keep adding to it and just keep.
We have a big central filtration unit in the center of the plant that, you know, as it returns, it goes through a filter and then back to the machines. Next week we are going to have a shutdown, and they're going to clean out the coolant system and recharge it and everything. They'll go through and clean out all the troughs and the piping and all that.
Right.
Wow, whose job is that?
You know, that was strictly volunteer work, you know, maintenance and the volunteers. So
Like, who's going to clean the grease trap today? You know,
yeah,
like,
it's
I'm gonna be. I got a dentist appointment.
How often is that done, Brooke? The maintenance.
You know, they constantly check the level of the coolant to make sure it's cutting right and doing its job and adding coolant and back and forth. So once a day, they're out there with the hydramation, you know, in the tank checking it, and because boy, you can screw something up fast if you don't have the coolant.
Exactly.
Right. So.
Oh yeah.
So.
And by the way, when I viewed the shop, when I just did the walkthrough, the place is spotless. Nothing's out of place. Again, very impressive.
It's organized chaos. Don't give us so much credit, Tori.
But it's organized, though.
It's very yep. It does.
Maybe else, it's clean though. I mean, it's a nice, clean working environment. You know, you think of right. You see different shops and stuff, and sometimes it's like grease and dirt all over the place, and they're like, well, it's a garage, it's a shop. What do you expect? No. Right. Not these guys. And you get off the floors.
Yep.
I won't take out the toilets, but you definitely get off the floors, though. Okay.
We appreciate that.
Draw the line somewhere.
We try. Thank you, Tori.
So let me ask you. So you started out, 25 years ago, Callies. So, forgive me if I missed this part because I was, fighting with my internet. Give us like a timeline of what you did, from beginning up until now.
Well, I started actually as summer help, back in the shipping area. Basically, like I say, it was shipping, and at that time we were buying bulk bearings from Federal Mogul, and some of our customers may remember we used to have this really mirror finish bearing that Federal Mogul made for us back in the early 90s, and we literally boxed them and wrapped them in house. So I started doing that as summer help, sweeping floors, doing, I was going to school, and I thought, I got to do something during the summer. My mom and dad are going to kill me, basically. So this is a very, as you know, Tori, you were here. It's a very rural community here in Fostoria. So mom and dad are like, you're going to work all summer. And so I started doing that. Not soon after that, they needed somebody to buy tooling. So I was still going to school. So I stepped into what we call our tool room, which buys all the tooling for the shop. And at that time, we weren't doing the volume we are today. Don't get me wrong. We were up and coming and growing and scratching and clawing along and all that. So I did that for about a year. And then they had an opening in sales, and I know, at that time, I've gotten to know the Medlands pretty good, and I've gotten I had gotten the racing bug, and I said, you know what? I'm going to put my name in and see if they'll give me a shot. They gave me a shot, and the rest is history. So
Awesome.
I've been
Awesome.
And here we are now. I'm 25 years later. I have the privilege of being, I guess, in charge of sales there. So it's pretty cool.
So let me ask you a question. So
Cool.
you got there when Callies was a pretty young company, probably no more than 5 years old. The company you started working for them.
We started Callies in 1989. I started the summer of 1992 as
Wow.
Oh, wow.
sweeping floors. So yeah, it was at that time in this town when somebody said Callies, you were like, who are they? What are you talking about? And so at that time, I didn't even know what we did. You know, it was.
You just needed a job.
I just needed a job. You know, it was one of those I needed to do something, or my mom and dad would probably kill me. So I just started working and learning about the product, and here we are.
That's awesome. It starts as a summer job, and now it's a lifelong journey. It's a career.
Yeah, I'm too stupid to get out of it now. So you know.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
Jeez.
too entrenched. So.
Well, yeah. Do long enough.
It would be like that episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob leaves the Krusty Krab, and every time he goes to the pizzeria to learn how to make pizza, it looks like a Krabby Patty.
That's it, right?
He goes to build a house that looks like a Krabby Patty. Brooke would make everything look like a crankshaft.
Exactly. It'd be a crankshaft, no matter what.
The hot dog place, right?
That's right.
The hot dog place, everything was a Krabby Patty. You have to kick out of every one of them.
It's not shiny. It's not shiny enough, guys. What are you guys doing?
Do you have any old cars, any classics in the fleet, or
myself? No, I never got into that. You know, I have two boys, so that they suck the funds for that away. And years ago, I'll never forget this. You know, you guys probably know the guy. You'll either love him or you hate him. But Scott Shafroff, years ago.
We know Scott.
Uncle Scott, I call him. Great guy. Uncle Scott. He's
and Tom Tilford.
He's, you know, like I say, you either love him or hate him. He told me years ago, he goes, stick and ball. Just remember, stick and ball. Don't get into this racing stuff. It'll suck the life out of you. So.
Right.
So yeah, good people, and I'll tell you, I'm really fortunate. They're right in my backyard. I mean, they're literally a town over from where I am, you know. So, and they're another place, huge facility, squeaky clean. Yeah. I mean, they are a machine shop, right? You're supposed to get dirty and no, not that place either, you know. So, and they're very good at what they do. They've been doing it for the past 40 plus years.
Yeah,
they're good.
They're very good. Scott's a sweetheart of a guy, and Tom too, and Vinny's over there. Good people.
They're good.
Big Vinny.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it is 10:13 and it is coffee time. I will let you know that right now. It is time.
Me too.
Every night, Brooke, have a cup of coffee between 10 and midnight.
I've heard the rumor. I have heard the rumor. So.
Absolutely.
Time.
I miss that. I'm gonna need a couple of cups when I come down and see you. So
yeah,
I better bring a can down. I drank enough of it, you know, visiting. So
yeah. And I drink espresso. I don't drink colored water. I drink some good stuff. Man. I don't mess around.
And Lou makes a good pot too. It's a whole process. I enjoy it. Very, very good. But before we go, I just want to mention this is the last show before Independence Day because July 4th falls on Thursday.
Right, next Thursday.
Oh, next Thursday.
Yeah, so I didn't schedule anyone unless you want me to.
No. We ain't gonna do nothing for Independence Day.
Okay.
No, that's fine. We're not gonna do nothing.
Okay. So we'll be back the week after. And
matter of fact, have Melissa make a thing that so we can post it on Instagram saying that we're not gonna have one for Independence Day.
We can do that. That's easy enough.
Yeah, that way people know. Yeah, I didn't even think of that, but yeah. I know we talked about it, but it never registers till the last minute. You know,
Right.
It's the way I roll.
Yeah, our guest, the following show will be Greg from LSX Concepts. They do the serpentine systems.
Yep.
Real nice
Cool.
stuff. So we're looking forward to seeing him.
We need to hook him up with Brook. That way, you know, when they need something for those tall deck big blocks, someone can make it for them.
No kidding.
Someone, even though it's a drag cutter, going, damn it, we got to put this somewhere, and then like a vacuum pump or something. They're going, we need the stuff to mount this.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you,
it's
the
gonna happen.
systems are real nice though. So
yeah, we'll have to do that.
Oh, for sure.
Well, cool. Brook, it was awesome to have you on here. So, Tori, you know what, Tori? Sign off.
I sure
We'll
will.
make this happen.
Good night, everybody. Have a happy and safe 4th of July.
Thanks.
Thank you for stopping by, spending part of your evening with us. Ray, it was great seeing you, and I'll talk to you soon. And Lou, I'll talk to you later. Have a good night, everybody.
Ray, say good night.
Good night from Ray Guarino, Motormouth Radio on Long Island, and happy Independence Day next week. We'll catch you in 2.
Brook, say good night.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was a pleasure. If anybody ever needs anything or wants to stop in and see the shop, you're more than welcome. Open door, and everybody be safe next week. Keep all your digits. Don't blow them off. And thanks again for having us. So,
not a problem. I'm Lou Santiago. Playing Traffic every Thursday night at 9. We left Wednesdays and went back to Thursdays because my school schedule permitted it. So we won't see you guys next week because it's 4th of July, but we will see you the week after. Adios. Later, Brooks. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right, Brooke.
Thank you.